Me and my girlfriend have been eating so many noodles recently, so today I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite dishes. It's this Lemony miso noodle soup. If you want a dinner that's warming, healthy, and honestly leaves a smile on your face, then this is the recipe for you. If you're new here, my name is George. I've been a chef for 10 years, and I love sharing delicious plant-based food every week on this channel, so be sure to stick around and let's get cooking. To start this noodle dish, we're actually going to prepare the lemon, and we're going to be making use of the peel for maximum lemony goodness. So we'll just use the peel of about half a lemon. Make sure to get a unwaxed lemon, and if you want to splash out, ideally an organic lemon as well. And then with your peel, we're just going to thinly slice it, as thin as you can get it, into these lovely little strips which are going to cook down into the broth and release their lovely essential oils. It's going to make this noodle dish incredibly lemony, just like that, and those are going to soften beautifully as we cook them. Does anyone else have a favorite flavor? For me, and also my mum actually, it's lemon. Something about its vibrant, fresh and tangy flavor just always hits the spot for me, and I always try to include it in my cooking when I can. Let me know if you have a favorite flavor to cook with, whether it's another citrus fruit, vanilla, coffee, chocolate, maybe it's a chili paste. Drop a comment down below. Now, Poppy's favorite flavor is peanut butter. Tasty. We've just been for a very wet walk. Start by getting a nice large pan over a medium heat. And then once that pan is hot, add in an oil of your choice, about a tablespoon. I'm using a selection of bright and aromatic spices like fennel, coriander and mustard seeds to go along with the lemony theme of this noodle dish, and we're just going to lightly crush them to release their essential oils. For the garlic, I'm just going to crush it with the back of my knife, and that's going to get it peel off really easily. I've got two fairly chunky cloves here. I'm going for a fairly mellow garlic flavor in this dish, so I'm just going to slice it. The more you chop garlic, the stronger the flavor is going to be as you break down more of the sort of cells of the garlic. I've actually just filmed a sort of mini garlic masterclass on my Patreon page for premium members, so if you do fancy signing up, now is a good time to do it. Easiest way to peel your ginger is with a teaspoon. Comes off really easily, don't have to apply much pressure. Sometimes I will leave the skin on, but I want this to be a really nice sort of clean noodle soup. And with the teaspoon, you can really get into all those sort of nooks and crannies of the ginger. And you can always use this peel to make some ginger tea if you want. And instead of mincing this garlic, I'm going to just make it into really nice thin little batons. So first cut it into slices and then layer them up. And then you can slice them into nice thin strips. This will add a nice gingery kick to the noodle soup, and I like how you get these nice little sort of soft strands of ginger going through it. And we'll just let these aromatics sizzle away and release their beautiful aromas into the oil. And we're not looking to color these ingredients, just for them to slightly soften and release their lovely flavor. Then I've got one fairly chunky leek, and I'm just going to take off the sort of dry ends. Also going to take off the outer leaf. We can still use these in a stew or a vegetable stock, but I want the less sort of rustic layers for this noodle dish. Now typically for this recipe I'd use spring onions, but since it's not spring, we're going to use this lovely leek, which is in season, so it's going to taste so much nicer than using some out of season spring onions. And we're simply going to thinly slice the leek so that it cooks nice and quickly and gets lovely and soft. As always when cutting a vegetable, I've got it on its flat edge so it's nice and stable, and I'm curling in my fingertips so that I don't cut them, because that is not fun. And then just rocking my knife through the leek, letting the knife do the work. And then as soon as your chopping board gets a little bit messy, just make sure you clear it up, and that will keep you nice and organized and reduce the risk of you cutting yourself. Now leek is grown deep in the earth and has many layers, so make sure to give it a good wash. I can already smell the flavor of the leek as I wash it. Really good. You can then go in with that finely sliced leek. I'm going to add a good pinch of salt here to help extract the moisture from the leek and to help it sweat down and get really nice and soft. The leek is coming along really nicely now. It's starting to soften. We're not trying to caramelize it, as I'm keeping this as a sort of clean lemony broth. You can see the spices in there and the little twirls of lemon peel. Really delicious. I'm then going to add a touch of turmeric, and if I'm honest, mainly because of the lovely golden color it has. But it is also healthy. Just add a little drizzle of oil with that spice, as it is fat soluble, and that's going to help it really come out into the dish and give it a lovely color. And we'll just cook out the sort of powdery taste of the turmeric just for about 30 seconds is perfect. Next to go in is our vegetable stock, or just water, it's up to you. You can turn up the heat now and we'll just bring this to a light simmer. And I always like to use a lid just to speed up the process and use a bit less gas. And we'll let this simmer for around 10 minutes to develop some flavor and just finish softening the leeks and the lemon peel. Personally, I prefer to cook the noodles separate from the broth, as I find they can end up soaking up so much that you end up short on broth. Or they end up changing the flavor of the broth that you've just spent the last half an hour, 60 minutes trying to get as delicious as possible. By cooking them separately, you can cook them exactly how you like them. You can then rinse them in cold water to remove the starch and stop them from cooking any further. I then like to dress them in a little bit of sesame oil to stop them from sticking, and then you can just use the broth to heat them up when you're ready. This way you've got a beautifully seasoned broth cooked exactly how you want it, and then you've got your noodles also cooked to perfection, and you can join it together into a delicious noodle dish. I've already given this tofu a bath in boiling salted water, so it's seasoned from within and it's got a nice firm and bouncy texture. If you want to see a video where I go through a load of different tofu cooking techniques, I'll link it in the description. I'm going to keep the seasoning on this tofu really simple, as we're going to make a really nice sweet chili glaze for it. So I've just done a little olive oil, and then I'm going to be really generous with the black pepper. And when I say generous, I mean very generous. And then add a starch of your choice so it gets nice and crispy. I'm going to go for some arrowroot powder. And then just mix that through so it's all well coated. I'm not adding any salt, as I've already simmered it in boiling salted water. Plus there'll be salt and sugar in the glaze, so you really don't need to worry about that. Then I'll just spread that out into the air fryer, making sure there's a little bit of space between each piece so that the hot air can get to it and it's going to get nice and crispy. And then into the air fryer. The first time I ate tofu was in a noodle dish. Me, my brother and a friend, we went to a restaurant in the city called Chili Daddy, and I ordered the least spicy dish, but still somehow it managed to blow my head off. And I remember thinking how weird and rubbery tofu was and how I probably wouldn't ever eat it again. But now I literally eat probably 4 to 5 blocks a week. It's one of my favorite proteins and I think it's absolutely delicious. So if you're still unsure about tofu, try it out in some different recipes and I'm sure you'll be craving it like I do in no time at all. For the glaze, we'll start with some lovely fresh and tangy chili sauce. I think we'll go for about 1.5 tablespoons. This is called Blue Dragon Sweet Chili Sauce. It's a Thai chili sauce, really tasty. A little bit naughty, it is quite sweet, but it's worth it. Then I'm going to go in with some ketchup to give the glaze a little bit of body. You can also use tomato puree. Soy sauce for that umami flavor. A touch of sesame oil for that lovely nutty and fragrant flavor. And then some rice wine vinegar to cut through the sweetness. And then lastly, I'm just going to zest in some fresh ginger to give it a really nice kick. Zesting will break down lots of the fibers, making it really nice and punchy and strong in flavor. And then just give that a good whisk so it's all nice and combined. Smells lovely and fragrant. Quick air fryer tip, don't leave anything crispy in the air fryer to stay hot, as the steam will make it go soggy and we don't want soggy tofu. Now for the fun part, pour your glaze over the tofu and then just toss to coat your crispy tofu in that lovely, sweet, tangy, and slightly spicy sauce. And that is going to be a very tasty, high protein addition to this noodle dish. Okay, the leeks are beautifully soft. We're now going to add in a little bit of creamed coconut. And this is different to coconut cream. It comes in a block. It's kind of chalky, but it also has some of the actual coconut in it. So it has a really nice sort of nutty texture. If you want, you can use some regular coconut cream or you can leave it out if you want. It does go really nicely with the lemon and adds a nice bit of body to this soup. Next to go in is the white miso, and I like to put it into a ladle. I then add in some of the broth and then just give it a little whisk. You can use a spoon as well. And this is going to ensure that you don't get any large clumps of miso in your broth. So we'll just turn this into a nice little paste. And then you could just pour it in without any risk of getting large clumps of miso. which I've definitely had before, and it is very salty. Now, it's already quite lemony, but I want it even more lemony and fresh. So I'm going to squeeze in the juice of half a lemon, or maybe about a tablespoon and a half, I'd say. Also going to add a crack of black pepper. And that will help you absorb any of the goodness from the turmeric as well, so it's always a good addition. It's got a really beautiful color, this soup. Make sure to, of course, give it a taste and adjust the seasoning. Wow, that is good. And then to chop the fresh coriander, just bundle it up into a nice little bunch, and then it's gonna be really easy to just finely slice. Just really quick, if you're enjoying my recipes and my videos and you want to support me in creating them, then check out my Patreon page. There'll be a QR code here and a link in the description box, and a massive thank you to anyone already supporting me over on Patreon. Make sure you keep your fingers tucked in once again. And you want a nice sharp knife so you're not just bruising the coriander. If you want it really fine, you can do a few cross chops through the coriander or cilantro, depending on where you're from. And coriander is carrying on with a sort of lemony theme. It's got a really nice, vibrant, citrusy note to it. And a final optional touch, some fresh coriander, which I absolutely love. But if it tastes soapy to you, then of course don't add it. And I nearly forgot, I'm adding a load of greens into here. So I've got some kale and some purple sprouting broccoli. One of my New Year's resolutions was to cook food that I truly enjoy, and not just because it's healthy. In the past, for example, I'd make a smoothie with lots of greens and healthy ingredients, but the actual smoothie wouldn't actually taste particularly nice. This noodle soup, on the other hand, it delivers on flavor, it's comforting, and it's full of healthy goodness, so it's a win-win situation. And we'll just let them cook for about 4 minutes, I'd say. I've chopped them up quite small. Okay, that is looking absolutely perfect. I think it's time to serve up. God, that's good. This is perfect when you need something to warm you up on a cold day, but isn't really heavy and filling. It makes you feel really nice and light and fresh. Thank you for watching. For some more plant-based inspiration, check out this video.